Hello all, Rick here with a quick video covering some interesting lore bits from Strange New Worlds Season 2 Episode 1, The Broken Circle. This is a thing I thought I'd try, effectively taking relevant lore from the episode and giving my thoughts a different take on a review, I guess. The first lore thing to analyse is the creation of this new species, the Lanthanite. Aside from sharing a name with a real-life mineral, this species is a new one to the Trek universe. They seem to have been present on Earth for centuries, hiding among the populace until they revealed themselves in the 22nd century, which I'm guessing took place after the formation of Starfleet and first contact with the Vulcans. Earth had received extraterrestrial visits before in its history, mostly from the Vulcans, who abided by their own Prime Directive orders to avoid meeting humans. However, they still studied and observed Earth, with even away teams at times. So to discover a species living among humans, making use of humanoid physiology to blend in? It's not unbelievable, with even members of the El-Aurian race such as Guinan doing the same thing when she ran away from home. The real mystery is why. They may have been hiding out amid a species that could mask them, or perhaps it was their own sense of adventure that drew them to explore other cultures. The Lanthanites might even be related to the El-Aurians, with their exceptionally long lifespans. This is one mystery I think the show might answer, but considering the Vulcans' own habit of stowing away on pre-warp civilizations to observe, a trait inherited by the Federation Starfleet, well, I can see why Spock might be fascinated by their ability to flawlessly observe for generations. The second thing I want to take a look at is basically the hodgepodge vessel that the Broken Circle was building under the mines of Kajtar 4. The Crossfield class was created in 2255 and altered to include the displacement-activated Spore Hub drive experiments. The vessel featured distinctive geometry and a design that was altered to house all the necessary parts for that drive, from the internals to the spinning generator in the saucer section. From what we know in canon, there were only two ships, the USS Glenn NCC 1030 and the USS Discovery 1031, so possibly a USS Crossfield 2 given the name of the class. So, when the cobbled together vessel is identified as a Crossfield class, I was puzzled. The saucer section looks like it was indeed from a Crossfield class or something similar. However, the rest of the configuration reminded me far more of the original series concept for the Miranda class, from its shape to composition. So my thinking is either one of two things. One is that the ship we saw was misidentified because of the saucer section and the fact they were only ever two such ships in operation. She could have seen the profile, not been able to place it, and picked the first thing she could actually identify, in this case the distinguishable saucer section. The second option to my mind is that it is basically what a Crossfield class was supposed to look like before the vessel was overhauled into a Spore drive testbed. The Crossfield might have undergone extensive retrofits, and what we see here is a version without any Spore tech inside it. Either created before the Discovery or Glenn, or after when Starfleet scrapped the project. This is less likely in my opinion, but still a tantalising possibility. In all likelihood, however, it is simply a combined Crossfield and Miranda class bodged together to make a Starfleet-looking silhouette that the Klingons might easily mistake for a UFP vessel. It was also rather easily destroyed, which would only play to the strengths of the ploy, as they would not want any prisoners, ruining the Broken Circle's scheme. The Klingon commander fortunately proved amiable to reason, which brings me on to my third lore bit. At this time, tensions with the Klingon Empire remain high and will not really ease until the Treaty of Organia in 2267, 7 years from now. Even this was a forced peace from a higher intervening power, the Organians. The Klingon War was of course covered in Discovery, although they missed most of it, but it left off in an effective Cold War state. At this time, however, Chancellor Lorel of the Empire has overseen the first unification of the houses by taking their individual military fleets and combining them into a single unified force, the Klingon Defense Force. However, she did this by leveraging their homeworld as hostage, but it worked. Each house now works inside the KDF, and this would create great change for the Klingons. On one hand, they were less prone to individual raids. But on the other, if the Klingon forces ever did go to war again, it would be with a more unified and dangerous navy. The Klingon D7 was introduced to be the symbol of this united Klingon force, the first battleship commissioned by the Empire and awarded to every house as part of the KDF. In many ways, the D7 was a far more advanced and powerful vessel than anything the Federation had, especially during the war, and even the Constitution class would require a retrofit to keep it up to par with the battleship over Kajtar 4. Speaking of that planet, this is the first time we see Spock effectively hijack the Enterprise for what is technically a personal mission. Although it does prove to be for the benefit of the Federation, thus the unexpected mission is effectively forgiven by Admiral April. However, he does warn that if it happens again, not that it is likely, it will cost him his commission. Unbeknownst to April, however, it will indeed happen again in 2267 when Spock diverts the Enterprise to Talos 4 in order to return Pike to the Talosians to repay the friendship and debt he owes his old commander. That does not cost Spock his commission, however, but it nearly does. He is accused of mutiny, which would indeed have him kicked from Starfleet and imprisoned even. Fortunately, in this case, the charges are technically never really brought to bear because half of it was still all a fiction. However, it would be the second time Spock takes the Enterprise to a locale despite Starfleet orders and without the captain's authorization. Later on, in 2285, the Enterprise is taken to Earth space dock for repairs after the incident with Khan in the second film. Although Kirk requests a chance to travel to the Genesis planet to, well, search for Spock, he is denied and resorts to stealing the Enterprise from ESD while Scotty sabotages the transwarp drive of the USS Excelsior. So, once more, we have an incident of the Enterprise being stolen for a technically personal reason, although it later proves to be of importance to Starfleet overall. Still, it's a funny parallel with events that will later come to pass, and all three thefts involved Spock in some fashion. So, there we have it. 4 lore drops from Strange New Worlds. I look forward to the next part, and the episode was a strong start, with an interesting choice to sideline Captain Pike for the opener. Still, it worked, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Goodbye.